Hi, I'm Steve Richardson and welcome to today's video. Now, whether you have currently a newsletter or an e-newsletter as part of your overall marketing strategy, or whether you're just thinking about having one, it's best to look at some best practices to either make sure you're starting out on the right foot or to make sure that you're not inadvertently making some mistakes in your current efforts, or if there are ways that you can improve your newsletter, whether it's printed or an electronic. So in today's video, I want to talk about the 8 biggest mistakes that people make with their newsletters. Now, the first is writing in a generic voice. This is your opportunity to speak directly to your leads. Talk to them. Tell your story. Be personable. But most importantly, speak in your own voice. People don't want to feel like they're reading some nonfiction book or something like that that's dry, a textbook, things like that. Be lively. Be conversational. Speak in your own voice. The second mistake that people make is either the over or underuse of text or images. Now, nobody wants to get a newsletter that is dense with text. 5 or 6 paragraphs of 8 sentences each that they're slogging through. It's a lot of dense text. Break it up a little bit. Break it up into small paragraphs. A paragraph can even be 1 sentence if you want some emphasis. But break up the text. Don't overly use text. And sprinkle in some images in there. People like to see things, visualize things. Can help as well. But also, if you've ever scrolled through a website that has a ton of ads and you're seeing more images than you are text, it's very distracting. It's very irritating. So you can also use too many images as well as too much dense text. So make sure that the content of your newsletter is evenly balanced between text and images. Now, the third mistake that people make is too many calls to action. Call me for this. Download that. 3, 4, 5 calls to action. Way too much. All right. It looks too salesy. They're going to stop reading your newsletters because they don't see them as something informative or telling them things that they would like to know or be interested in. You're trying to sell them, and they're going to see them as spam. They're either not going to open them or they're going to outright unsubscribe. So don't be too salesy. Now, the fourth mistake that people make is not having a call to action at all. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have something that you want that person to do, the reader to do. After all, you're marketing. You're trying to get cases out of this. So have a call to action. Have them do something. All right, ask them to do something. If your newsletter may have the first 2 or 3 paragraphs of a great article on your website, and you give them the first 2 or 3 articles in the newsletter, and you say, click here to learn more. And that drives them to your website. And hopefully that landing page will have a call to action on it. Download my book. Look at my report. View this video. Or schedule a call to speak with me. But some sort of call to action. Each one of your newsletters, and really any piece of content you send out to a lead, should tell them what you want them to do. Have a call to action. The next mistake people make, number 5, is irregular release schedule. If you're going to do a newsletter, make sure it comes out on a regular basis, because if people start getting interested in your newsletter, they're going to say, hey, where's this week's issue or whatever. I send an e-newsletter out on the 1st and 3rd Friday of every month. And I've been doing it for years, and my readers know that they're going to get a newsletter on the 1st and 3rd Friday of the month. So be regular in your release schedule. Don't be all over the place. People should know when to expect your newsletter. The 6th mistake that people make is being unintentionally spammy. This goes back to your having too many calls to action. Just be careful in your language and how you speak. Are you putting too much effort in trying to sell them something? Is that coming through too much in your subject line where it's obvious you're trying to sell them something? Now, you're trying to sell them something, all right? But don't be spammy about it. Don't be obvious about it. Just watch your language and don't be overly spammy. Number 7, the newsletter is too broad or unfocused. Maybe you could have your newsletter maybe laid out in certain sections. My newsletter has a little blog at the top, then a couple of articles, usually something about a life hack or links to the latest personal finance news, things like that. Then the next section has to do with the latest episode of my podcast, latest videos I've released, things like that. But it has a structure. It's laid out in a particular way. And be consistent with that structure. And sometimes maybe even have a theme to your overall newsletter so that the different sections relate to one another. But focus in a little bit and be structured. Finally, the 8th error that people make is it's just boring. Right? They're information. Maybe you're writing things about the law that another lawyer might enjoy reading, but the average person in opening the newsletter, if you're talking about the latest development in the law in your practice, write to your audience, write to the non-trained, the non-lawyer. Speak in that voice. Make it interesting. Right? Don't be boring. Put content in your newsletter that's going to be entertaining, that's going to be interesting to people. Don't be boring. Okay, so if you don't have a newsletter, an e-newsletter, you really should. There's an article on my website that talks about why. But if you're going to have a newsletter, you certainly should. Make sure you don't make these 8 mistakes. If you follow those rules, you're going to have a loyal following and readership for your newsletter that will hopefully help you grow your practice and bring in more business. And I hope this video has been useful to you and given you something that's actionable. If you are enjoying these videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I try to release one video every week. And even better if you click the bell icon, that you'll get notifications every time a new video is released to the channel. That's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.